Welcome to this week's episode of This Week in Diaspora History on the Jewish Diaspora Report. Let's get started. This week, we deal with the Jewish leap year. A leap year in the Jewish calendar has 13 months and occurs 7 times in a 19-year cycle. This is called Adar 2 or Adar Bet. Due to the occurrence of this leap year month, for this month, we're going to use the English Julian calendar. March 3rd, 1658, Maryland, United States of America. Dr. Jacob Lombroso, the first Jew in Maryland, has been indicted on charges of blasphemy, a capital offense. Born in Portugal, Dr. Jacob Lombroso established himself in Maryland in 1656. Although Jews were residents in Maryland probably from its original settlement, Lombroso is the first Jew whose faith there is evidence of. He was one of the earliest medical practitioners in the colony, and for nearly a decade he continued to be an important figure in its economic activity. After living for at least 2 years in an undisturbed quiet as a recognized Jew, in 1658 he was arrested under the provisions of the so-called Toleration Act of 1649 for the crime of blasphemy. His crime, denial of the doctrine of the Holy Trinity, and uttering words of blasphemy against, quote, our blessed Savior, Jesus Christ, thus becoming liable to punishment by death and forfeiture of his lands and goods. Lombroso testified on his own behalf and had not intended to say anything blasphemous, but he was merely expressing his opinion as a Jew. A general amnesty was proclaimed in the province 10 days later upon the accession of Richard Cromwell, Lord Proctor of the Commonwealth, who gave him back his freedom. March 15th, 1291, Persia. Jewish Grand Vizier Sa'ad ad-Dawla under the Mongols of Persia was assassinated. Originally from the town of Abhar in western Iran, ad-Dawla was a Grand Vizier of Persia from 1289 to 1291 under the Mongolian leader Ilkhan. The administration appears to have been a wise and just one. He instituted regulations which, although strict, were wise and aimed at a sure increase in revenue. He employed only Christians and Jews in his office. A large share of the positions fell into the hands of his own relatives. Under him, the Jews enjoyed a short period of prosperity. Sa'ad had many enemies among the Mongolian officials who hated him because they could no longer divert revenues to their own use. Muslims felt degradation to have a Jew placed over top of them. False reports were circulated about him, and no opportunity was lost of maligning him. Sa'ad's enemies took advantage of the opportunity to get rid of the Jew, and he was killed March 5th, 1291. His goods were confiscated, and his family and the Jews were persecuted. March 6th, 1799, Ottoman Empire. French leader Napoleon Bonaparte captures the city of Jaffa. The Siege of Jaffa was a military engagement between the French army under Napoleon Bonaparte and the Ottoman forces under Ahmed al-Jazar. In 1799, the French laid siege to the city of Jaffa, which was under Ottoman control and was fought over for 4 days. The city of Jaffa was surrounded by high walls, and extensive fortifications had just been constructed by the Ottomans. Napoleon had to win Jaffa before he could advance any further, and the whole expedition's success depended on its capture. Napoleon sent an officer and a trumpeter to Al-Jazar to order the surrender of the city. Al-Jazar decapitated the messengers and ordered a sortie against the French. According to some sources, the French messengers who had been sent by Napoleon with the ultimatum ended up being arrested, tortured, castrated, and decapitated. Their heads were impaled on the city walls. This harsh treatment led Napoleon, when the city finally fell, to allow his soldiers 2 days and 2 nights of slaughter and rape. The sortie against the French was pushed back, and early in the evening on the same day, the French managed to destroy one of the towers of the city. Despite the resistance by its defenders, Jaffa was finally taken on March 7th by French forces. This has been another episode of This Week in Jewish Diaspora History on the Jewish Diaspora Report. Don't forget to check us out on social media. Check out some of our other episodes on your favorite podcast source. We'll see you next time.